Hello everybody and welcome to the Magic Show. Today we're going over my top 10 articles of 2006. We've seen a lot of good reads go by this year and this is my list for the best of the best. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone's favorite article and to that I say write your own damn top 10 list. So, beginning with number 10 we have the $16,000 Lightning Helix, a Pro Tour Honolulu report, parts 1 and 2 by Craig Jones. We begin with the famous quote, "Faith's fetters and wrath of God are not enough to beat Zoo." Famous words from a now well-known and respected magic writer. I'm sure he was well-known years ago, as he eloquently noted in his Ass-Kicking Daily earlier this year, but I found Craig through this report and his subsequently excellent work at Star City and coverage for MagicTheGathering.com. The Lightning Helix story is as old as time by this point, but for those living under a rock or new to the game, the one amazing top deck gave us the geeky thrill of our lives this year, and Craig relives it all for us as he takes his wacky Zoo all the way to the number 2 Pro Tour spot next to Heasy Street. At number 9, we have The 10 Principles of Vintage by Stephen Menendian. It's no secret that Mr. Menendian carries a lot of vintage hopes and dreams on his shoulders. No one is as well known or as well spoken about the subject. And as such, I chose this article as the one I favored most this year, as it gives you the building blocks of understanding the format. What are the primary win conditions of the format? What are the best engines? What is the path to success? There simply isn't anyone doing the, quote, 10 principles of Extended because they believe the format changes so frequently. With each new set, there are tweaks and changes. But Vintage doesn't suffer from this, and as such, Stephen gives us a precise breakdown that will still be relevant for some time. At number 8, we have Bad Beats by John F. Rizzo. Now, this article is quintessential Rizzo. Not only do we get sealed decks, standard lists, extended lists, legacy deck lists, and more, we get his tale of bad beats, of stopping by the boss's office on a Friday only to find out that you were going to be fired on Monday, of having to carry out the company's office equipment from your garage to the waiting coworker outside in front of a distraught wife and children. It's heart-wrenching, and it's long, and it's awesome, and it's Rizzo, and hell, even I'm mentioned in there. I could cite Rizzo work all year round because I think he's one of the best freeform writers the game has right now, but if you have to read just one, read this one. At number 7, we have Jordy Tate's 3-part Grand Prix Toronto report, where he finished in the top 32. One of the most controversial writers returns in 2006 for his only opus of the year. Lucky for us, it's friggin' brilliant. Mr. Tate brought us another magic culture staple with the phrase, "P.S. Demon Fire You." I do not believe there is any magic player out there who cannot die laughing as he reads the horrible, horrible way Ken Crooner utterly crushes Mr. Tate's hopes and dreams with an offhand remark. I guess I'll just demon fire you. Earth crushing power. That's all I'm saying. This article is pure fun, wit, and angst. One article per year, and the Tate still has it. At number 6 is Mike Flores with Focus on the Tipping Point. In this piece, Flores basically talks about how net decking works and how tweaks to net decks either work or don't, and if they don't, you're an idiot, and if they do, you're a genius. I mean, how long did Aethervial take to get into affinity decks? Longer than you think. The article goes in depth in how a deck such as Kuroda Style Red, aka Mono Red Control, worked with both Sensei's Divining Top and Culling Scales to win match after match. Each iteration improved on the original and in important ways. He also notes that when deck builders go off the beaten path, such as removing Culling Scales from Mono Red Control because you don't understand why it's there, they inevitably find themselves checking the drop box on the slip. Number 5 is the 4-part The 20 Worst Legends of Kamigawa by Eric Engelhard. Now, this is undeniably one of the most entertaining reads of the year. It was so damn good, Star City ran this baby twice just to make sure everyone got a look. In it, as you could guess, Eric takes apart the ridiculous Kamigawa legends that Wizards threw our way, and there were plenty, with hilarious results. For example, he writes of the awful flip rare Runetail, Kitsune Ascendant, quote, "I do have to give Runetail some credit for having his big floppy ears tattooed. That had to hurt." Of the horrid bounteous Kieran, he writes, "You can't make it through a block without stumbling over 3 or 4 useless life game members of some cycle that R&D worked hard on with the blue or black cards, then ran out of ideas with a life gain again for green and white. But then you're all like, okay, the life part isn't bad, but it's still a 4/4 flyer in green. You don't get that every day." And then I'm all witty and come back, "Yeah, your mama's a 4/4 green flyer. I hear she costs 7 too." And then it all ends in fisticuffs as usual. Intellectual discourse is not my strong point. I could go on and on, folks. This is really, really first-class stuff. If you're familiar with the cards, let alone the culture behind it, this is a fantastic read. At number 4, we have The Only Thing That Matters by Mike Flores, his second appearance on the countdown. Now, what is that thing? Is it picking the right deck or playing the control/beatdown role correctly? What is that thing? The thing is figuring out just what variant of a popular deck your opponent may be playing. As few as 4 cards and a mana-based shift can take Sea Stompy from just blue and green to Sea Stompy with Card Apes, Ninjas, and Thoughts of Ruin. With each different build going off in a different direction, misplaying against it is a sure way to lose. Now, this is not quite as simple as misassignment of role equals game loss, but it's not far off either. Number 3, we have Playing and Winning in the Zone by Noah Wheel. Do you know what the zone is, and have you ever been there? Do you know what it feels like to be in pure focus? Do you know what your basic human needs are? Do you know what self-actualization is, let alone how tough it is to achieve? This and more is a mere article away. Certainly one of the best articles I've ever seen from Noah, and a big highlight of the year. Inside he explains what the 3 pillars of hitting the zone are, how you can identify them and improve on them yourself. One of the best and most interesting on the list. This is a great, great read. Number 2 comes from Jeff Cunningham. His Get Big or Die Trying, the 2006 Magic Invitational article. Jeff Cunningham is a legend in these here Magic parts. Longtime pro, Jeff has mastered the ways of geek lit. He begins with his hopes and dreams as a longtime Magic pro, of watching others do well and himself fall somewhere in the middle, crooner's disease, as he calls it. This is then followed by the tragedy at Honolulu, where he got a Faith's fetters in the eye and missed the money by 4 spots after going 7-3-1 on day 1. I could go on, but it gets both worse and better and then kind of bad and sort of okay and then great and then not so great before its blazing finish. This series is also one of the best you'll ever read that also includes the phrase, quote, "My mom imposes a 12:30 a.m. curfew that prevents me from doing more than 1 money draft in a night." At number 1, we have Information Cascades in Magic by Patrick Chapin. You can't really explain this article without hearing this first. Quote, "In the early part of the 20th century, the American naturalist William Beebe came upon a strange sight in the Guyana jungle. A group of army ants was moving in a huge circle. This circle was 1,200 feet in circumference, and it took each ant 2.5 hours to complete the loop. The ants went around and around the circle for 2 days until most of them just dropped dead. What Beebe saw was what biologists call a, quote, circular mill. This mill is created when army ants find themselves separated from their colony. Once they're lost, they obey a single rule: follow the ant in front of you. The result is the mill, which usually only breaks up when a few ants struggle off by chance and others follow them away." This is from The Wisdom of Crowds. Now, Mr. Chapin describes an information cascade as, quote, "a chain reaction of decision-making, where almost everyone involved is basing their decision on the decisions of others, who in turn base their decisions on others, regardless of personal information." He then explains the phenomenon that was Ghost Dad in the summer of '06, and its strictly better companion, Ghost Husk. Now, both were good decks, but one was strictly better. Ghost Husk simply won more games week in and week out at PTQs than Ghost Dad did in the qualifiers. But first, the cascade began with Ghost Dad. Ben Goodman brought his baby into the world, and everyone couldn't wait to play with it. While the Husk variant was getting around, Shining Shoals were being purchased the world over from $1 rare bins and finding their ways to top tables. Why? Sheer numbers. But as those numbers dwindled and chose the more powerful Husk, the cascade began again. He demonstrates it best with this quote. Say that someone organizes an unusual tournament. 50 of the players are given identical blue-white decks in some new format. They are matched up against 50 other players playing red-green decks in the same new format. There is one round played and no one sees the results of anyone else's match. A person at random is asked which deck he thinks won the most matches. Everyone else is able to hear his answer, but not his result. Then a second person is asked, and a third person, and so on. Each person who guesses the, quote, winningest deck gets a box of product. Everyone beyond the first person has private and public information to base their decisions on. The private information is the result of your match. The public information is what everyone else chose before you were asked. Clearly, the first person will base his decision on the result of his match and how it played out. Now, let's say you're the fourth person asked. Your goal is to correctly guess and win the product. In your match, blue-white won easily. However, the first three players all select red-green as the deck they think won the most. What do you name? Most people would go with the group against their own results, which is the rational thing to do. This would produce the correct answer more often than not, but would also usually start a cascade, essentially dooming everyone else if they were wrong. On the other hand, let's suppose the participants were each paid a box if the group arrived at a correct answer by a vote. Now the group can essentially assure itself success if everyone places their vote based on their private information rather than the group's decisions. Even if the first three vote red-green, you would still say blue-white to give the group the most useful information about your match. This would make you more likely to guess wrong. However, the group is more likely to be collectively right. Encouraging people to make incorrect guesses actually makes the group as a whole smarter. Quantity and variety are actually better for the group than focusing on quality. This goes far beyond Magic, far beyond mere gaming, to life in general. The idea that information flows from one place to another is a fascinating concept. From the way people respond to lights turning green, to crossing the street without looking at a crosswalk sign, information cascades are everywhere, and hopefully you too can recognize them. Well done, Patrick. Now for the weekly Planar Chaos file. Holy crap, did the fit hit the shan this week, ladies and gentlemen. Damnation, damnation, damnation. This is, I don't even know where to begin with this card. Does it give Wizards a reason to take Wrath out of 10th? Sure. But since Planar Chaos is how the colors, quote, might have been, that probably won't happen. Now in Extended, you're free to include 4 Duress, 4 Cabal Therapy, and not even need to venture into white for Wrath of God. A black Wrath of God. Black Wrath of God. Welcome to $25 cash at the pre-release, foils for at least $75, playsets so wanted and desperately needed for ridiculous formats like Extended that dealer tables will turn into a freak show. Magic players bloodletting just to make their Psychotog builds just a little more ridiculous. It also appears we'll now have Ball Lightning in green, so Captain Tickles will have a new 6-1 friend to hang out with. And where's that first strike when you need it most? So we have Wrath of God in black and Drop of Honey in white. Green gets Ball Lightning, so where does that leave blue and red? Red is getting, and I hope you're sitting down for this, Morphling. Oh, my dear, sweet, aching, merciful, I don't know what to say. I thought a black Wrath of God was the end-all, be-all. You can't impress me from this point. I am impressed. I am impressed. Now, this is currently not 100% confirmed, as it's only a piece of art on the mini site that was leaked. But just look at it. Blue is rumored to get Demonic Consultation, and somewhere every single Vintage player just had a simultaneous emission. This is still a rumor, as before, so keep that in mind. Wizards, I gotta hand it to you. You know how to sell cards. Oh my God. This is masterful. I'm already imagining the money I will be spending on this set. So, thanks. And that is another show. Thank you very much for watching. It has been an awesome 2006. It's going to be a killer 2007. And next week, we're going to jump right into Magic Online, and it's going to be awesome. I'll see you then.